Ever wondered why we crave instant gratification? In today's world, we should all ask ourselves, why can't we stop scrolling, binge-watching, or chasing that next hit of pleasure? In this video, we will be discussing Dr. Anna Lembke's Dopamine Nation, which delves into the science of addiction, showing how modern life has turned us all into dopamine junkies and how we can fix this. Dr. Lembke is a psychiatrist and addiction expert at Stanford University. She's seen firsthand how our dopamine-driven society is impacting mental health, as both the pleasure-seeking and pain-avoiding tendencies are at an all-time high. Our brains are wired for pleasure. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for reward and motivation, plays a key role. But here's the catch. Dopamine doesn't just get released when we experience pleasure. It's also triggered by anticipation. That's why we keep refreshing social media or reaching for another cookie. It's not just the reward, it's the thrill of expecting it. In fact, in one study, Lembke points out that dopamine levels spike up to 50% during moments of anticipation. But constant dopamine hits can cause a crash as our brain adapts to this flood of pleasure, making it harder to feel good over time. Lembke argues that we live in a dopamine nation. Whether it's technology, food, shopping, or drugs, modern society gives us endless opportunities for instant gratification. In the book, she cites data showing that the average person spends more than 4 hours a day on their phone, and teenagers, even more. We've gone from needing to work for our pleasures to having everything at our fingertips. This constant availability is why so many of us are struggling with addiction, whether we know it or not. Dopamine Nation highlights several real-life stories of patients struggling with everything from alcohol to video games. And no one is immune. Addiction affects all of us, just in different forms. One of the key insights from the book is the idea of the pleasure-pain balance. Every time we experience pleasure, our brain tips towards the pleasure side. But to maintain balance, it swings back towards pain afterward. This is why, after a dopamine high, we often feel a sense of withdrawal or a low. Dr. Lembke calls this the dopamine deficit state. And the more we chase dopamine, the longer and deeper that pain response can be. For example, after just a short binge of social media, the pleasure-pain balance shifts, and it might take hours to feel normal again. Over time, this leads to a cycle of addiction, as we constantly seek that next hit to avoid feeling low. So, how do we break free from this dopamine overload? Dr. Lembke suggests dopamine fasting. No, it's not about completely eliminating pleasure, but rather taking breaks from overstimulation to reset the brain's pleasure-pain balance. She shares examples of patients who detox from their addictions, whether it's a 30-day break from alcohol or a digital detox from screens. The results? More clarity, less anxiety, and a deeper sense of satisfaction with life. In fact, research cited in Dopamine Nation suggests that taking these breaks helps to restore baseline dopamine levels and improve long-term happiness. It's not about avoiding pleasure altogether, but learning to enjoy it in moderation. Dopamine is powerful, but so are we. Take the first step to mastering it with Dopamine Nation. If you learned something useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.